You guys know what to do, just like every other podcast. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the DT Show. I'm Daniel, and today we got an excellent show planned out for you guys. I'm going to be bringing on our favorite doctor, Dr. Vona. She's going to be coming on. We're going to talk about the interrogation of Bryan Kohberger. We're also going to look at a picture that just dropped a little bit earlier today. I posted it up early this morning. It was a picture that was released during the time when Bryan Kohberger was arrested in the early morning hours. I believe it was like the 31st, 30th, somewhere around there of December. We'll look at that. We'll look at some of the other pictures that he's had and so much more and compare those. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell, guys. You guys know what to do. Without further ado, let's bring in Dr. Vona. How's it going, doctor?
Good. Hi, everyone. Good to see everyone.
It's good.
It's been a few days. Yeah, it's been a few days since I've been on YouTube, so I feel like it's been forever. It's funny how like 2 or 3 days could feel like weeks.
Oh, 100%. There are times where I'm like, all right, I'm going to take my Sunday off and my Monday off. And then by Tuesday, I feel like I'm old news.
It's crazy. You'll never be old news. You're good.
I appreciate that. Well, first, before we start, I want to say happy birthday to your young one. I want to say mini and me, but I'm not sure if she's smaller or taller than you.
Well, I'm 4'11" and she's 4'10" or 4'9". She's 4'9". She's 22.
Yep. You're mini you. So
she is a mini.
Happy birthday to her. I hope it's a good one.
I'll let her know. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And so earlier today, this image came about. Bryan Kohberger. This is when he was arrested. Let's put some context behind this. His house was just bombarded. There was windows broken, doors broken into. His parents thrown probably on the ground in handcuffs, similar to what he's sitting in. And look at how calm he looks. Isn't that kind of eerie?
He does.
He's not even sweating, like nothing. Like
it's so eerie. But my thing, he actually looks like annoyed. Like, why are you taking a picture? But I did have that question for you. Like, is that normal for police to just like, that looks like a cell phone pic?
Yes. So
is that normal to just be like,
Yeah. So the reason why they took the picture, you had asked me this earlier, and the reason why they take this picture is because this is the SWAT team that's coming in, right? And so it's not the lead investigator. So they arrest him or they handcuff him, and then they take a picture, and then they send that picture to the investigator and say, "Is this your man that you're looking for?" So it's kind of like an identification. And then I found
that makes sense. I figured if I thought that, there was other people that had that same question as well.
And then there was this document or this here. This is from ABC News. So you asked me that earlier, and I said, yeah, I think that's why. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And this document kind of talks a little bit behind it. This goes on to say that we'll come back and talk about where he's housed. But it says here, I'll never forget, my phone dinged and I looked at it and it said, "We got him." Current Moscow chief Anthony Dollinger told ABC News. At that moment, the next thing on, there was a picture of him in handcuffs from the scene. Now, and Anthony Dollinger wasn't there. So my assumption is that this picture was sent to probably Corporal Payne. And then from Corporal Payne, he sent it out to his upper management, say, "Hey, we got this guy." And so this is the image here. Now, this I think this is the basement. I think this is where he was supposedly running towards. He was according to some documents and Dateline and other pieces of information. The story goes that they broke in. When they broke into the house, he was like going through his garbage, separating his garbage, and then he took off running down the stairs, and they caught him right there, and he just kind of gave it up right away. Yeah, so I think this might be the basement. I think that's a heater behind him. There's some like headphones that are plugged in.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and there's a bed there. Doesn't look like he was. I mean, you can't really tell, but he's wearing a sweatshirt. He's got something in his pockets.
Oh, yeah, he does.
I don't know what that is. Probably. Oh, look, there's a little bit of it right there. It looks like plastic, maybe.
I was going to say maybe it's the stuff that he was like putting in the baggies.
Yeah, you can kind of see it right there.
Oh my gosh. I didn't realize that this was at his house. I think I thought that this was maybe that's why I had the question too, because I think I thought that this was like down at the station or something. And I was like, why would they take a picture? But that would make sense if it's at his house to be like, this is him.
It could be. Now he had the gloves on, so I'm not necessarily certain if they were going to take the gloves and then put them in his pocket. You know what I'm saying? Because he had the gloves on. Maybe he could have had other gloves in his pocket. That's quite possible. We've also found out that on this night, he took off, or maybe not on this night. I'm sorry. A nights prior to this, they almost hit him. FBI almost ran into him. They apparently he I guess one of these nights he went out to go put trash in the neighbor's bins, and the FBI almost crashed into him. They almost hit him.
Isn't that crazy?
And he was wearing these dark color clothing while he was out there. I don't know if it's this exact one, but this is the hoodie. Now he has his headphones in. Just earlier than that, according to Dateline, he was he I'm sorry, there's quite a bit of noise coming in from the background there.
Is there, you guys?
It's okay. Just earlier, according to Dateline, there was he was listening to Britney Spears' "I'm a Criminal, Slow Down," and so I'm sure he was listening to that all night, and that's why he's now with the headphones plugged in. But the other thing I noticed is that there's a separation here in the ground. So this is, in my opinion, this is the basement, probably just unfinished basement flooring.
I don't think a lot of people realized that it was in his house. So I'm so glad that you pointed that out.
Yeah. This is definitely at his house. And I think this is the room that he was staying in. Look at those eyebrows, though. They don't look that bushy there.
No, it doesn't. I would assume that by there he already knew that they were looking for like that. Oh no, we didn't know actually, right? We didn't know until after they arrested him that anybody saw him. Isn't that right?
Right. Well, he knew that he got seen, but we didn't know that was the description that Dylan had said, that the person had bushy eyebrows. Connor goes on saying, laughing, so that was the legit psychic thing I called. Yeah, I had with the picture where this picture, I said, it'd be weird if he was listening to like Huey Lewis, kind of like American Psycho. And then I go, dude, for all I know, he's probably listening to Britney Spears. And then boom, it falls. So yeah, that was the one psychic thing I did call. Thank you so much.
You definitely did. And his hair there, like I feel like it just like how we've said before, he looks so different in all of his pictures. Like if you put up like shots of all of his pictures, he just looks so different.
Here are my thoughts, and I think this might lead to it. So his eyebrows look thinner, his hair looks significantly lighter. You see that?
I do. Okay. I always wondered here, do you think he put like anything in his hair there? Like
that's what I was going to say. I was wondering if he put in like lightning gel. And I've said this a couple of times when I looked at this image here, that this looks like what happens to your hair when you put on that lightning gel. I don't know if you've ever seen that. There's like this gel that you can put in your hair and has like peroxide. And
it's like sun-in, but so from here to the new one, he would put it in, not because here it's really dark. Well, but wait, if we look at pictures from him before, I feel like his hair is just extra dark here.
But what I'm thinking is, because it's darker now. It's darker now than what it is here. This looks almost blonde.
It does look like he put sun-in in. That's what it's called, sun-in.
And so, yeah. So the reason why I thought that when I saw this image, right, I was like, man, maybe because if a hair fell out, that would damage the hair. Those type of gel. And so I wondered if that's the reason why. And the other thing is, because I had seen, I saw my wife one time put some kind of gel material in her eyebrows for something, I don't know, some kind of beauty thing. And I was like, dang, you look like the dad from American Pie. And it was because
Daniel.
of It was because of the gel stuff. She wiped it off and she looked normal after that. But that when I saw that, I was like, man, I wonder if Bryan Kohberger put something in his eyebrows. So if you look here, they're dark compared to here. They look
And they're
really
fuller.
light. Right. Well,
Yeah.
they could look fuller because they're darker then. And
That is.
they could look thinner because they're lighter. I was wondering if maybe perhaps this guy put in that lightning gel because it would damage the hair. That way, if a hair did fall out, one, it's if with the gel, it's keeping it together. It's preventing it from falling off of his head and things of that nature. And two, it may damage it to the point where if somebody finds a piece of hair, that you may not be able to pull the DNA off of it. You know what I'm saying?
That's a really good observation. But you would think that he would know better, that if they got any of them at the root, that they would be able to, like, even if you did dye it, that they would still be able to connect it to you.
Well, I don't think, I mean, obviously if somebody grabbed at his hair, he's going to have some issues. But I think what he was trying to prevent is the random hair falling off. You get what I'm
That
saying?
makes sense. Yes. And it's definitely gelled or something in the other picture for sure.
Right. And I mean, because his hair looks like it was dyed. And I wondered maybe he dyed it because he was like, all right, I'm going to dye it red, beforehand in case blood stains his hair. I thought that was a possibility, but the more, I think I'm going to lean on with my first thought that this guy put in some sort of that. It used to be called lightning gel. And you would put it in your hair and it would change your color of your hair lighter. And for somebody with dark hair like mine, it's weird because I had like red hair growing up, red and black, like red and dark brown hair. Now my red hair is all kind of turned white. So,
that's what happens as we get older, Daniel.
Yeah, no, I know. But if I would have put that lightning gel, my hair would have turned like a reddish color because it lightens the tone of what it is.
So let me just get what you're saying. You think that he put the lightning gel in to get this look, right? Because that's what I think.
I don't necessarily. He was thinking he was trying to cover his look. I think he was trying to hold in the hair.
No, I meant
from
like in
falling out.
between the two. Like
Well, this is about
like
7 weeks later. This is about 7 weeks later.
Yeah, it's definitely different.
I mean, because the bottom hair looks darker than the top hair.
It definitely does.
And we know he's had a haircut because one of the hairstylists has come forward and talked that he had a haircut in the end of November. And so this is about 2 weeks after that. I think that there's a possibility that he put a gel in his hair to hold the hair in, and also that could cause damage. And the side effect of that hair gel, it lightened up the color of his hair. And that's why his eyebrows and the top of his hair are lighter than the side of his hair.
That's a really good observation.
That's
a good observation. I could see that.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, even if we kind of look in, there's like darker in there. It's the outer part that looks almost blonde.
Yeah, like the tips.
Now, before we get into his interrogation and the things that were said and stuff, I wanted to ask you about this image here. He's got the thumbs up. This was taken a few hours after the murders. We had found this image of his father doing the same pose. Do you think Do you think that's just their normal? Like, how are you doing? If I'm doing good, this is the pose they send to each other.
I don't know. I thought that too. I'm like, could this, I'm thinking that this might just be a coincidence. I don't know, because I don't know the context of this. So he looks like he's at the store. So what if somebody texted him, did you get all the items? And he just wrote back yeah, so I don't really know the context. So, and it's just a thumbs up picture, but I will say that it is strange that there's another one, but I would think that if anything, it would be more of a Bundy thing than it would be a dad thing. So I think if he was trying to emulate somebody, it would be the Bundy pick, in my opinion.
See, because I was, when I looked at this, I immediately went back to the time when Bryan Kohberger said, I respectfully decline, to talk at his hearing, and how I thought that was kind of bouncing off of when the judge told him that he appreciated the respect or whatever when he stood up. I thought, all right, this guy kind of mirrors what he sees. And so I was wondering if he was sending a picture to his father in a similar pose that he normally would get from his dad, some kind of mirroring aspect.
Well, that's interesting, but I agree with you with the judge. I thought the same thing. I remember you were like almost mad that you asked me what I thought because that's what you were thinking and you were about to say it, and then I said it and you were like, "Oh, like." But I totally agree with you. So this is the thing with antisocial personality disorder, or what a lot of people call like psychopathy or sociopathy. A lot of what we see is mirroring. So the person doesn't have the same emotions that we have, so they mirror or they learn how to feel in situations. So for example, they learn that if they're at a funeral that they shouldn't be laughing and joking, that they should probably look solemn. So they mirror other people. So that wouldn't be abnormal for him to be mirroring behavior, because I do agree that he was mirroring with the judge.
Because yeah, no, you're probably right.
Or
And I
do you
was
think
just
it was just for his own, like, could this just have been for his own self, like? Or you know what else I was thinking, Daniel? How about this one? What if this one is, because I thought about it and I'm like, why would he take this so soon after? Could it be so that later on he had a picture of himself without any markings on him in case somebody said that he had like scratches and all? He could be like, no, I didn't. Like, look at this picture. There's no scratches on me.
that probably makes the most sense. I think that makes the most sense. I think he would have sent the picture to somebody because it would have been weird for him to have a selfie that morning just of himself like that. Like, oh, so you took a picture of yourself that morning. And then they would have said, okay, well, this guy doesn't have any scratches. However, there's no indications that anybody had like DNA or skin cells to that magnitude, or blood from the victim. I mean, from the perpetrator at the scene. So the perp wouldn't have scratches on him. But that would have been the law enforcement side of things. Him, you're probably right. He probably took this picture for that reason. But I think he would have, in my opinion, probably sent it to somebody so that way, if he was looked into it, because if that's his plan, right? This is in case he's looked into, and he can say, look, I don't have any scratches, I don't have any of those type of things. If he just randomly took a picture of himself that morning, doesn't that seem kind of weird?
Well, this is the thing. Didn't they say that this was one of many pictures? So he took other pictures of himself that day too, or other days as well. So I
Yeah.
think about it. Maybe I don't take a whole lot of selfies either, but there's people that take 40 selfies type thing in one sitting. So I don't know that it would be crazy in his generation to take a selfie, but I think it's more for evidence.
I think you're right. I do highly believe that there's a good possibility of that. All right. And so I know some folks are saying maybe the lightning or the lighting in the room makes the difference of the shades of color. And I agree that's possible. I just don't know that the lighting in his basement is going to be that much significantly better than the lighting in his restroom.
No, but I think in the restroom that his hair is either wet or has gel in it. So I do agree with that. And I think that
Yeah,
that would change the color as well.
that's true. That is true. All right. So let's get into this. Well, let's look at it. Yeah, let's get into the interrogation aspect first. All right. So this was the interview. Whoa, hold on one second. I thought something happened in my house. It was an ad on the ABC thing. It went boom, but nobody else
Oh
could hear it.
no, God
Only
forbid.
I could, because I have this muted. And so I was like, "Holy crap! What just happened?" All right, so let's
God
go
forbid.
into this interview with Bryan Kohberger. So this goes at approximately 200 hours on December 30th. Kohberger was brought into the PSP Stroudsburg barracks and placed in an interview room. Detective Gilbertson and I were interviewers present, and the interviewer here is Brett Payne. So this is Brett Payne talking. He made the travel across the country to be a part of this. It says here, this is a summary of our interview with Kohberger, and this is not verbatim transcript of the interview. A full interview transcript will be attached to the case file. Detective Gilbertson and I began introducing ourselves and stating that agencies we represented. When I stated who I was, Kohberger said, "You look familiar." Do you think that was a slip because Payne was possibly, out in the public at that time, talking about the Moscow murders, and I mean, I know it was Chief Fry who was the main guy, but Payne was also in the background and those type of things. What
Yeah,
do you think
that
about
could
that?
have been. That could have been a slip there. It could have been.
To
I,
me, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
See, to me,
I'm like up in the air on that one. I think I have to, like, as we read more, maybe I would, you know.
you see, now that I think about it, Detective Payne wasn't really a big part of this, like the face of anything. It was other officers. And so for him to say you look familiar, I wonder if that's because of Kohberger's investigation into his investigation, or into the
Could it
investigation
all
into him.
could it also just be that, like, I'm trying to think about, if I was him, why would I say that? And could he just be trying to, like, make small talk where you're like, oh, you look like, or like just his way of, like, I don't know, not manipulating the conversation, but being like as if he's like controlling some of the narrative there. And because later on, don't they come back to it and they're like, and he said, oh, you just look like somebody I knew or whatever.
Yeah.
So I feel like, what was the point of saying it? There had to be some point. So maybe it was his way of making small talk.
Yeah. No, you're right. Detective Gilbertson and I began to speak to Kohberger. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger about the SWAT operation at the house, to which Kohberger replied he was concerned about his parents and his dog. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger if he was going to Washington State University, to which he replied he was. We made small talk with Kohberger about sports for some time. Kohberger stated he didn't follow WSU football much, but was a baseball fan. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger if he had only been at WSU for one semester. Kohberger confirmed this and said he had came to WSU with his father on July 1st. Kohberger then went on to say that he was a first-year PhD student in criminal justice and criminology. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger what the process was to apply for a PhD. Kohberger stated that he applied in two places, UC Irvine and WSU. Kohberger said that he was going to graduate with his master's in criminal justice from DeSales and was inspired. First and foremost, so he was almost in California, in a much larger population. If he planned out this crime out in California, and let's just say some of the same things exist, got in, got out, do you think it would have been harder to find him in a bigger place?
No, not necessarily, because wouldn't they have more resources in a bigger place?
Yeah, well, I mean, the DNA still would have existed, and yeah.
That's what I would think.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Do you think that, how do you think things would have worked out for Kohberger if he went to a bigger place? I mean, he didn't really work out at WSU. Pullman's a smaller location. How does the effects of a larger location, larger school, how does that affect somebody? Or how would that affect him given his issues?
He might have felt like he was like a smaller fish in a bigger pond instead of a bigger fish in a smaller pond.
Do you think that may have prevented him from doing something like this?
No, you want to know what? No, not at all. But the fact that he goes to these two schools because they don't give him the GREs. I thought this was like I wish I could talk to him, because I'd be like, you're so stupid. Any doctor program, like we do the GREs and all those things at the master's level. Most doctor programs, you don't have this. So I feel like my question is, would he have applied to other doctorate schools if he would have known that almost all of them don't use the GRE at the doctorate level? Or did he just apply to these two schools because he thought that he didn't have to take the GRE? And my thing is, why didn't you want to take the GRE? What were you scared of? You weren't going to do good?
Could it be that he was testing the officers to see their knowledge about things?
No, I really think he believed that. Like when you read it, that's how I read it. I don't know how the chat feels, but I felt like he really thought that, like, that's what his thought process is. And I was like, somebody should have let him know that he could have spread out to other places.
What about the fact that he was inspired in law enforcement at DeSales? It seems like he went through a law enforcement class in high school. He was a security guard. He talked about doing all these things in law enforcement, but kind of just blames it on DeSales. I think that's anything there.
He talks, well, I think if there's something here, it's probably more. He talks about how he was inspired. Could he be inspired by Dr. Ramslin and her, doing the whole serial killers and stuff? Could that have inspired him? Like, what did he mean by it inspired him?
That's true. Maybe, yeah, exactly. Maybe something that
I'm
he learned
sure
in
he
DeSales
didn't,
inspired
right.
him.
And I'm sure that's not what he meant to the cops, but it's almost like a slip, like a Freudian slip. Like, I was inspired. I'm sure he meant it for the cops to, hear it as if like, I was inspired to do better. But again, it could have just been a slip for I was inspired, just meaning that, he could have been inspired by, like we both said, that he wants to probably be the one that's studied now in a class like Dr. Ramsland, if not hers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this could be also when he got inspired to commit the crimes. I mean, this is when he purchased the K-bar knife. One of the things that I found out in doing the research here, that DeSales or that Reddit survey that he said that was for DeSales, it got banned at first, and then it wasn't allowed to be put up. Bryan Kohberger went in there in June and requested that it be reposted, and then went through some hoops so that it get reposted in the middle of June, well after his graduation. Like, what does that tell you? I mean, that tells me that study really wasn't for anything for school.
No, it was for him. And again, if anybody goes back and watches, we called that from the very beginning. As soon as they said it, and I know just from being a researcher that there's no way he got an IRB approval in a couple weeks time. And then he doesn't get it. He doesn't even get. So now he's here, and I'm surprised that they didn't put it on and that they just put it on based on his argument and not from like contacting the school to see if it was a real survey.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They just kind of took his word for it, but he did have an email address that was associated with DeSales. Do you think that could have been a reason why?
Yeah, it's that EDU. I'm telling you. Remember when the communication director when the whole house and everybody that we knew was trying to like email them and they weren't writing back. And I was like, let me see if I use my EDU, if it'll do anything. And it did. They wrote me right back and they read a statement to me from the president. So yes, I do think that had that played a role.
People are saying Frozen. I don't see anything Frozen.
I don't see anything Frozen either. Now Frozen for real. I don't see anything Frozen.
I'm looking on my YouTube here.
Wait, both of us?
No, we're not Frozen.
I see Frozen either.
I see us on I have my YouTube open. Now we're back. I think it was just YouTube acting weird.
I was going to say, for once, it wasn't me.
Yeah. It's not Frozen on my end. I'm looking at my YouTube here on my phone. I have it up here. I apologize, guys, for all that.
Yes.
Must be YouTube acting weird.
It had
we were frozen for a bit. I apologize. So he goes on to say that Kohberger then asked him if it was okay to engage in small talk like we were, to which we replied it was. After briefly mentioning he was strengthened by the fact that his mother and father were okay, Kohberger said he applied to two aforementioned schools because they did not require the GRE exam. Kohberger then spoke about the GRE for a brief time and then said he was accepted by WSU. Wonder if that means he wasn't accepted by UC Irvine.
I thought the same thing. I'm like, I wonder if he was not accepted to the other program. I don't know. And if he was accepted to both, could it, I was thinking, why would he go to this one? And it could just be that they offered him a better package, like as far as payment and stuff, and they were going to pay for it. They paid for him to live out there.
Yeah. Detective Gilbertson then asked Kohberger what led him down the road to becoming a professor. Kohberger stated it was because he loved being in college and stated knowledge was far more important to him than money. Back to when he was in his hearing, the sentencing hearing, and the victim impact statements were going on. To me, it felt like he was intrigued and interested. And I mean, at times he was getting upset when they were directing questions or directing statements at him. I can kind of see where he was showing very slight emotion, but you could see in his face he was upset about some of the things that were being said about him. But throughout a lot of it, it seemed like he was somewhat like just kind of looking into it, like studying it to a certain extent. And I felt like that's something that you don't learn in criminology. That's not something you learned in even in the psychology of criminology, is the impact of the victims, how they feel, their emotions, how the murders impact their social lives, and how they live after the fact. And so to me, when he goes into it like about knowledge being far more important, could the knowledge of committing the crime be a reason, kind of like why he committed this crime? Like it's kind of him saying like not him saying in this moment, but do you think knowledge could have been a motivation to this crime?
I don't know if I understand exactly what you mean. So, but can I just say real quick though, when it comes to him feeling, he didn't feel anything, Daniel. I promise you, he felt nothing. I don't think he cares what, I think if anything, if you go back and look, when he makes those like little gestures, a lot of the time, I think he's reliving some of it, like fantasizing in that moment. I don't think he feels bad, has a moment of guilt, remorse, nothing. The only time I personally see him react is when Olivia so did the dad. Both of them said something as far as like, they say he fails, and they say that he fails at school because they said, the only thing you failed more at, but they say the word failed. I think that word gets him. So, and that goes to academics. So I think academics in this sense is a form of identity for him. He feels like it's one of the things that he gets accepted for. So it's like one of the things that he's like good at.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I agree 100% with those things. When what I meant by knowledge is he wanted to know what it felt like to take somebody's life. He wanted to know what if, like, you can study it all you want. You can have these interactions through the Reddit post with all these people, and they can tell you what it feels like, but you don't know until you do it, so to speak, right? And so I was wondering if that was part of maybe the motivation here. There's no connection. There's he didn't follow them. He didn't go back to the crime scene after the murders outside of that one time before before the victims' bodies were found by law enforcement. He did a lot of things that were not what you would expect out of somebody that committed a crime like this. I mean, most perps visit the crime scene back and forth. They take trophies. They'll keep things with them. They'll find the murder weapon. There's a manifesto. There's some of those type of things. Not with Bryan Kohberger.
I think every criminal is a little bit different here, right? So I feel like he pulls from a lot of the different serial killers and stuff. So and how do we know that he didn't take things and he just didn't bury them and we didn't find them type thing? Do you know what I mean? So he could have taken something and we just don't know about it yet. But so my question would be here, back to like going back to what you were saying before about the knowledge. What came first? Like, did he was he seeking out his fantasy, or did he fantasize after he was exposed to it? So it's like, yes, I do think that he then, whether the knowledge he was attracted to it. I guess an example I could give is, if you're like a thrill seeker, you might skydive, but I'm not like a thrill seeker. I'm not skydiving. So I wouldn't seek out that behavior. So I do think that there is something towards him seeking out criminal justice and seeking out psychology. And I also think that there's a connection to him with his addiction, and how after giving up his addiction, it's almost like the way of feeling alive again. There's nothing else that beats that first high, right? They always say chasing that high. So this would be the one thing that would supersede that.
That's fair. Goes on to say, Kohberger added, WSU had a good program to study under, and then said, you guys know all about this more than likely. See, this is, when I go back to what he was saying about the GRE and then goes into it and what it is. And then now this statement, like, oh, you guys know all about this. And then even adds more than likely. To me, this was more of like an imposing of his education, that, hey, I know more than you. I'm smarter than you.
1,000%. 1,000%. That's exactly what I take this as well.
And so,
for sure.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what he's doing. And that's why I was like even saying earlier, to a certain extent, he was trying to kind of, show up a little bit and see what they knew about certain things. And
I agree with that, because didn't he say that he wanted the detective to tell him why he was there?
Yeah.
So that goes to that for sure.
This goes on to say, Kohberger then asked questions about the University of Idaho and other Idaho universities before stating he didn't know much about Idaho or Washington, and that he had not left the tri-state area much. Kohberger then returned to speaking about his focus on learning and how he thought he could obtain his doctorate degree. Again, this is him saying, look, I'm going to go get my PhD. I'm going to be a doctor. Again, imposing his knowledge on the officers.
I agree. And I think that that's because it's the one thing that he tries to identify with. is being an academic.
Exactly. Kohberger then said he recently returned home to see his family. Detective Gilbertson then asked Kohberger about his time at DeSales University. Kohberger spoke for some more time about his time at Northampton College University and DeSales. Kohberger then spoke about how he became interested in criminal justice and stated he thought about being a police officer, but did not want to make that commitment unless he was absolutely sure. Sounds like, based on his writing and things that he's been telling people for a long time, being in law enforcement was something that he had wanted to do for a while. Why?
Yeah, I agree.
What do you think this is about where he's like, I don't know if I want to be a cop?
I think it's his way of stopping himself from saying that he failed at it. It's kind of like you break up with somebody before they break up with you type thing. It's like that way you have control over it, or you've quit before you get fired.
Interesting. Yeah, Pullman did decline him. Pullman PD, that is. Kohberger then continued to speak about his education in universities. Kohberger also spoke more about the process to get into the PhD program and how competitive it can be. So there he's bragging about how he was able to surpass X amount of people. Still, you're in front of police officers. They have broken into your house, damaged your windows and doors, taped everybody, zip tied everybody to the ground. And now you're in here after the SWAT team comes in. And the only thing you can talk about is how awesome you were at school and how you were able to achieve some of the things you did.
Yeah. But I think part of it could be that he really believes at this point that he could still talk his way out of this.
Yeah. He may be trying to put up this mask. That way he's like, look, you guys are going after the wrong person. I'm a PhD
1,000%.
student. I'm this.
Yes,
I'm that.
I think that's what that is. Like I'm worried about my mom, my dad, and my dog.
Yeah. But you can say all those things, but when you look like this as you're saying it, it doesn't really come off. It's not really going to come off as really concerned. Detective Gilbertson then asked Kohberger about his move to Washington. Kohberger said he drove across country and wanted a challenge of driving cross country and experiencing it with his father. Kohberger then said he took a different route back home with his father for Christmas break to avoid the snow. I wonder if he said that on his own. I wonder if that was something that Bryan Kohberger brought up.
I think he did, because I think he knows at this point that they know his route home because he was pulled over twice. So this was his way of offering up the information or giving a reason before they even ask again, let me quit before I get fired.
Exactly. And then this is actually kind of telling, because you're like, oh, so you like, why would your trip be something that you need to come up and explain before we ask? That you took this trip this weird way. That is him coming up with an answer before the question is asked. And when that happens, it's when you're feeding him in the right place. And this is why they did the small talk. They let him brag about himself, let him get comfortable, and then things start to slip. Kohberger spoke about his travels and the risk of traveling in such weather in the winter. Kohberger then began to speak about the beauty of the environment and its relationship to God and a higher power. What do you think about that?
Can we stop there for a second, Daniel?
Yeah, I wanted your opinion about this.
This is again my way, not my way, but in my opinion, his way of saying I'm a God-fearing person. I'm an academic. Like, you guys have the wrong person. I'm I'm a good citizen. I love God. And I think he thinks that this is what he's supposed to say.
Yeah, I think so too. And it gets even not weirder, but he goes on to say, we spoke about this for some time. So the relationship with God and a higher power wasn't just a quick thing. And Kohberger said he was raised Christian, but was always skeptic, except when confronted with the beauty of the natural world. He's trying to come off as an intellect here, in my opinion. He's trying to say, I believe in a higher power, but, I've had my times where things were, questionable. But when I see these beautiful things, I can't help but believe.
So I also think you have to remember he sees himself as a scientist. So a lot of times with science, people think that, you have to either be science or religion. You could be spiritual and still be a scientist, but he could have in his head that if he's a scientist, like me, like he doesn't want to give it away. So he's like, he's saying like, I'm a God-fearing person. I believe in God. But he also says I was a skeptic, but I can't explain the beauty of things. So I think that's his way of throwing out there again, because he's a scientist. And I think he thinks that if he's a scientist, he has to believe in like the Big Bang and that God had nothing to do with it type thing. So I think this is just his inner thought process struggle coming out of his mouth.
That's interesting. Stephanie comes in with a membership for 4 months, and then a $5 super chat saying, love when Dr. Vona is on. Thanks, DT and the Drunken Turkeys. Thank you. Truffles comes in with a $10 super sticker. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much. Fancy says, terrified when I heard he considered UC Irvine because it's close to a lot of colleges. My daughter's best friend doing a master's program there at the time. Ooh. Yeah, a lot of people probably would gotten really, really scared if he would have ended up in their college. I know some people pointed out California, Elliot Rogers went to California, and it's not the same school. You don't think there's any coincidence there or connection there?
No, I don't see as much of the connection with Elliot Rogers. I see some of the things, but not I don't see like the parallels that I think a lot of other people see there. But for Elliot Rogers, I think he was less like he was focused in on the schools, and who knows what would have happened if, God forbid, those girls would have answered the door. They didn't answer the door. So that's why they're still alive, thank God. So who knows if it would have been different then. But I feel like with his story, we heard more about like how he kills his roommates and those friends first and stuff. And he does that with a knife. So maybe that was emulating a little bit. But with Elliot Rogers, I feel like he hated his biracial like he hated that he was biracial. And if you look at it, the three males that he kills are all biracial, Asian. So I feel like it was almost like he was killing the thought of himself in that moment over and over and over again. But he does that with a knife and then goes on and does the rest with a gun. So I do think there could be some crossover, but I don't know how much.
That's interesting. This next paragraph here makes me believe that Bryan Kohberger was probably going to commit more crimes of the same kind of crimes. And I'll explain to you why, because it's more than just this. There's a couple of other pieces. This goes on to say, I asked Kohberger if he and his father made any stops along their way back from Pennsylvania. Told me they visited Colorado, but the main goal was just to drive. Kohberger then told a story about seeing an unmarked police car near Kansas City speed up behind him, catch up to another vehicle, turn on its emergency lights, and then drive away. Kohberger thought this was strange and was unsure why it occurred. What do you think about this? And why would I think that this probably leads to Bryan Kohberger committing more crimes?
Exactly. It's like he's like again quitting before he gets fired. He's like, just in case you find something in Colorado, we were there, just letting you know.
See, here's the thing for me. I don't think that's what it is. To me, he's talking out loud and he's talking about this, but this stuck in his mind. There's 2 other stops that happened on the way back, and they happened in quick succession in Indiana. But he also brings up this is on his mind. He's been thinking about this for some time. Now, what is something else that we know? We know that he was searching for K-bar knives and K-bars all the way up until the time that he went to Pennsylvania. Now, is it possible that he stopped searching for K-bar knives because he almost got pulled over in Kansas, got pulled over twice in Indiana? Now maybe he thinks that they're onto him. And so if he stopped searching because after these stops, and maybe he's getting a little bit paranoid, if those searches stop happening, then that tells me that was not because he was looking for a replacement in case somebody came knocking and asking if he had it. That tells me he was looking for a replacement because he was looking to do the crime again. And, I think there's something to him not having looking for the knife while he was in Pennsylvania, not searching on Amazon, not doing any of those things once he went there. Everything happened before then, including having pictures of young ladies that he went to school with and other young ladies that were friends of the victims. I think he had his eyes on other people.
What do you think the connection is to Colorado, though? Like, why does he say Colorado and not a different state? Or do you think that's just coincidence?
He did mention the weird trip. And so I think that he probably thought in his mind the Kansas City trip or the Kansas City stop, a possible stop, and the 2 Indiana stops were related to this. There's no way in his mind that he's not thinking that those 2 are related. Everybody thought they were related. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's probably thinking there's no way it's not related. And they're not telling him, oh, that wasn't us. You know, they're trying to get him to slip. They're trying to get him to talk. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And to be on his side and not question him too harshly at this point would be how you would do that, right?
Yeah, exactly. You want to you want him just to keep talking and keep talking. I would have been like, why do you think that was weird? You know, emergency calls happen all the time where somebody has to turn on their lights and go the other way. Were you nervous about something? You know, did any other stops happen that caught your attention? How did you feel about those? I mean, those are the questions I would have gone further into, you know,
That would have been
but
amazing. He might have
yeah,
shut you down though and said that he wanted a lawyer.
well, yeah, and he definitely did once he felt a little bit of pressure, you know, but obviously you're here for a reason. You get what I'm saying? Like, why would that have made you nervous? Why do you think that was strange and unsure what, you know, like,
Oh, I agree with that.
and obviously it stuck with him. And I'm assuming the other ones probably did. They turned into stops.
And
And
maybe
so,
he wants to know if they were real stops because again, like you were saying before, he wants to know what do they know?
yeah, yeah, exactly. So to me, when I read this and I was like, all right, this is on his mind. He had the other two stops. He stopped searching for the K-bar knife. You know, if he was searching for it for a reason to replace it, he would have bought it at that point because he's like, oh, snap, they're onto me. You know what I mean? Yeah, I need to get a replacement. The
I
fact that
agree
he
with
didn't
that.
go out there and buy a replacement tells me that when he was searching for the other knife, it wasn't a replacement in case somebody came knocking. That was because he was going to commit the crime again, which kind of tells me that he didn't have access to the knife. The knife was broken, or one of those things that he wasn't going to go and retrieve it. It was unretrievable or broken, which is why he was getting a new one. Which
Or he
both
had
are
a lot of
plausible.
DNA on it.
That's true too. He may have been like, all right, just
That'll
well,
link him back.
I mean, it would have definitely had a lot of the victim's DNA. Would it have Bryan Kohberger's DNA on it? Maybe. And maybe perhaps you're right. He didn't touch doors more than once in that house and left all the doors open so he wouldn't have to touch them, you know, more than you know, so that it would lessen the opportunity for him to leave DNA behind. He's probably buying brand new stuff. You're probably 100% accurate there. So yeah, this right here tells me he was going to commit the crime again. That's just my opinion. That's kind of how I broke it down.
I think so too, because, and I think that when you look at him psychologically, he does fit more of a serial killer than he does a mass murderer. So that would fit right in. And just real quick, I see somebody asked in the comments, what kind of doctor am I? Just for people that don't know who I am right now, I'm Dr. Vona. I teach psychology. I teach abnormal psychology at the university and college level. I teach statistic, research methods, all of the things. I've been teaching for over 20 years. I have my master's in counseling, psychology, and human behavior, a specialization in marriage and family therapy, and a doctorate in education. And I specialized in higher education. So, and I've been teaching about this for 20 years. I also do counseling, but counseling, let me be honest, is not my favorite part of my job. I like research. Oh, I'm a research psychologist as well. So hopefully that answers the question. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask, and I will most certainly answer that.
And we also have a link to her channel in the description. Make sure you guys go like, comment, subscribe on her channel. We're trying to get her going as well. She deserves it. So make sure you guys get out there and
Thank
subscribe.
you.
You're welcome. All right. This goes on to say Detective Gilbertson then asked Kohberger about the job he mentioned. Kohberger stated that he was a teaching assistant. Kohberger then talked about how busy he was and how the funding package that comes along with being a teaching assistant is. What makes the extra work worth it? Kohberger then discussed ongoing projects with WSU PD and Pullman PD. I wonder what kind of projects he had going on with the police departments there.
I don't know. Do you think he has like, I don't know.
Do you think maybe they found something that would have belonged to them? And maybe he's trying to explain it like a radio.
Yes, that's what I feel like. But that's what I feel like he's doing this whole thing here, right? It's like, let me like quit before I get fired. It's like, so let me put it out there. And I feel like this is one of the things that he does that is so telling that I think goes the wrong way is that he thinks that by saying these things that he's providing a cover for these things, not realizing that there's people like all of us that are listening to him like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, why are you bringing this up? So I don't think he realizes that this is going to make him more sus, but it does.
Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does. I'm wondering if he had something from WSU PD or Pullman PD in his possession, and he was trying to explain why by saying, "Oh, we have these projects." Kohberger then spoke more about how being a TA is essentially assisting the professors in the department. Kohberger stated he did not get to assist with the teaching, with the exception of assisting with the office hours. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger if he would be a TA again next semester, and Kohberger replied he would. Kohberger then stated he understood why they were engaging in small talk, but appreciated if we would explain to him what he was doing there. I mean, it's a long time before you're asking that question. I mean, they really got him worked up and going about himself.
And I don't think he asks yet because I think he thinks that if he asks too soon, that's going to make him like, I feel like everything goes back to, is this going to make me look suspicious type thing? Also, Daniel, I was thinking about it while you were reading that. It says that he describes how WSU has these ongoing projects. That's a way for him to not lie. So he's telling the truth. They do have ongoing projects. He even tried to try out for one of them and didn't get it. So he's not lying by saying there's ongoing projects, but it's not necessarily him that's part of the project.
That's true. You're absolutely right. Kohberger then stated he understood about the small talk. Then Kohberger asked why he thought we were there, and we said he wanted the detective to tell him. Detective Gilbertson said we were there because of what occurred in Moscow, but did not provide any further detail. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger if he watched the news, and Kohberger said, I watched the news. Gilbertson then asked Kohberger why he thought I looked familiar. Kohberger said he wasn't sure and stated that I had a familiar face and looked like someone he used to know. Detective Gilbertson then said we were there because of what happened in November off the University of Idaho campus. Now, one of the things that I had seen in another document was that Bryan Kohberger had news clippings of the homicide, and he also had looked up the roster for the 911 call persons. Do you think, I'm thinking if he had those things, he probably was looking into who everybody was that was investigating this crime, who the lead detective was, who all these people were. I mean, just like I was during that time. And I think that's why I think he slipped when he said you look familiar.
And well, either that or like I was saying in the beginning, this could be a form of manipulation. If you think about it, he did get in the detective's head because it's not for a couple minutes that the detective asks, why do I look familiar?
That's true. But I do think that they were trying to get to him to say that.
I don't think he's that smart. I think you're probably right. Let me backtrack. That would be really smart to think that whole thing out. Now that I'm thinking that out, he probably is more for why you said.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think they're trying to get that out of him. Like, do I look familiar because you've been researching this a lot? I think that's what they're trying to get to. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger if he knew what that was, to which Kohberger replied, of course. When prompted to elaborate, Kohberger said it was the incident we had been investigating for how long has it been? What kind of question is that? Because it kind of reminds me of when he's asked at the DMV, hey, do you know about the crime? And he's like, horrific, isn't it? And
I think that he's trying to be part of it. Almost like let's talk about this, like as if he's one of them.
Maybe. Do you think maybe he's like, how long has it been now? Like, it's taking you this long to figure something out?
Oh, it could be that. Even if he's just thinking that in his own head and he doesn't mean to say that out loud, just like before, that could be like, him saying that. But it could also be his last ditch effort of being like, I'm one of you guys. Like, you're looking at the wrong guy. Like, I'm an upstanding citizen. Like, almost like, yeah, we got to figure, like, what's going on? Almost like, do you need my help?
Maybe. Yeah, because he did say the one we've been investigating. We had been investigating for how long? It's weird. And then goes on to say that Kohberger said there were probably several.
That makes him one of them.
That's true. Kohberger said there were probably several incidents, and then said he was aware of the homicide because of the WSU alert he received. Detective Gilbertson asked when Kohberger received the alert. Kohberger said he wasn't sure, but thought it was sometime the previous month. Detective Gilbertson confirmed that was why they were there and asked if Kohberger wanted to talk about that. Kohberger replied, well, I think I would need a lawyer. Kohberger then asked if we would explain to him what we were there for specifically, and he added that he was tired. Detective Gilbertson then stated we were investigating the homicides of the 4 students, and that we had questions and things we hoped Kohberger would help us understand. Kohberger sat back and said he had the utmost respect for law enforcement, but stated it was a constitutional right to speak to an attorney. Detective Gilbertson affirmed this. Kohberger then re-engaged and said the only thing he heard from Moscow was an alert that came from his phone. So he's like, I want a lawyer, but then he's re-engaging into the conversation. Very reminds me of his attorney Labar out in Pennsylvania said that, he wanted to basically know what they had against him. Idaho wouldn't tell him the probable cause affidavit. He wouldn't know any of that information until he got back to Idaho. That's one of the reasons why he was so eager to waive his extradition hearing so that he can get back. It sounds like he was like dying to know more information. What do you think?
I think so. I think so too. I also think that wasn't he a TA for like a criminal law type class? So how much of this was he like thinking in his head, like knowing his rights type thing? Because he talks about how it's his constitutional right. So what if, and I don't know, I think closing here, what would happen if they read him his Miranda rights, he then asked for a lawyer, and then he starts talking about it again? If they then ask him questions again, could that be like means for, I don't know, him thinking, even if it's not real, for him to think that like that's something to question, like they did the process wrong?
Not necessarily. I mean, you'd have to, if they re-engage and you say, hey, you've asked for a lawyer, are you sure you want to talk to us? And you have it recorded in that manner, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
So are you allowed to ask questions though after that? Are you allowed to re-engage after he says he wants a lawyer though?
It's a gray area. It's an iffy area. I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever been in that situation. Usually when somebody asks for a lawyer, I'm like, all right, that's what you wanted. I've only been a part of probably about 25 to 30 interrogations throughout my career. It wasn't very many. Most of them were like drug related or theft related and those type of things. It's probably a lot more than that now that I think about it, especially with the theft related stuff. When somebody asked for a lawyer, it was like, all right, you asked for a lawyer. I'm going to redirect to Chloe in the chat if she's still here. To me, if somebody re-engages and you've read their Miranda rights and then they re-engage, it's kind of iffy. I mean, if the guy comes out, you got to be careful. I wouldn't do it, to be honest with you, because if he says something that's that could be used against him, and that is something very big, I mean, you're really threading the needle there as far as getting that thing taken out. You know what I'm saying?
So I wonder if that's Kohberger's, I wonder if that's him doing that because he was the TA in this criminal law class. So maybe he learned about some of this stuff. So this is his way of trying it, if you will.
It could be. I mean, Chloe, what do you think? Do you think that you can re-engage after somebody's read their Miranda rights and they've asked for a lawyer? Can you re-engage? That one's, I've never done it. I've always told people hey, sorry, you've asked for a lawyer. There's nothing I can do. And I hope they start just spewing things out because of it. That's kind of, I think, the tactic there is you're going to be like, all right, I can't help you, too late. And then they're like, well, blah, blah, blah. And, if they yell at you some stuff and you didn't ask for it, that's fair game.
Absolutely, right? Because you're not asking a question. They're offering the information. Absolutely. But I wonder what she says to that, though. Oh, let's see.
She said there's a gray territory, but if someone invokes a fifth and then they try to re-engage, best practice for officers to stop questioning, which the officers did here. Yeah, it's probably the best practice. Because it goes on to say that Kohberger then said he wanted to talk to an attorney. Detective Gilbertson said we would stop now because he wanted to speak to an attorney. Kohberger then asked where his parents were and where his dog was. Kohberger re-engaged again and asked what questions they would have for him. So he's wanting to know. He's trying to do what I do, right? Where you look at what the police are doing to try to figure out what it is that they know. And if he wants to know what questions they have for him, that could be an indication of what it is that they know. And I think that's why he wants to know what questions they were. And then he was maybe thinking, all right, just tell me what questions you have, and then I'll speak over my lawyer, whatever the case may be. But I think that he wants to know the questions to have an idea of what it is that they have on it.
1,000%. And that goes back to the academics of it all. So it's like a formula. So if you tell me what the questions are, like you're saying, then I can deduce what it is that you're trying to get out of me so that I then know what it is that you guys have or what it is that, that you're trying to interrogate me about, if you will.
Yeah. Detective Gilbertson then asked Kohberger again if he understood his rights and asked specifically what Kohberger wished. Kohberger asked what specifically we wanted to talk to him about and the reason. I told Kohberger he invoked his Fifth Amendment rights and we were not going to ask further questions. Kohberger asked again for the reason he was there, but added he would like to talk to an attorney. At this point, we concluded the interview with Kohberger and left the room. So he's trying to just dig some more information. He wants to know what they have on him. He wants to know what mistake he made.
1,000%. That's exactly what he's trying to find out, because in his head, he went over everything. So he's like, what did I do wrong? Like, what could they possibly have?
Do you think that so he left there in the middle of the night. He takes off. He goes and hides the item somewhere. In my opinion, I think that's what he's doing because, it takes him 28 minutes to drive 9 miles. It doesn't make any sense. And so, and he's driving at a high rate of speed. So he probably hid the item somewhere. He goes back the next day or a little bit later, around 5:30, turns his phone off, and he's back in that area. Given the time of night and everything that occurred, do you think there's a possibility he just completely forgot about the knife sheath and didn't even know he left it behind?
So I thought about this. Could he? But you would think that he had to unsheath the knife before he went in, unless he thought that he had it like in his fanny pack or whatever. I'm making that up. I don't know that he had a fanny pack. I'm just saying, like, if he had some kind of container or whatever they thought they saw. So maybe, I don't know, maybe he questioned himself, but I would think that at some point he had to know that he left it there. But I wonder if he thought that he had cleaned it off well enough. So he's still, asking, like, what do you have against me? Because maybe in his head, he's thinking like, I was really careful with that type thing. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, if that was the case, if he thought that, if he knew he left it behind, do you think it was like a calling card or left on purpose?
I'm glad that you asked that. So my question would be this. Somebody said this in the comment somewhere, and I was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. So somebody said, and I was like, this is so smart. If you were planning to take the sheath, would you be as worried about leaving DNA because you were going to take it back with you? So the fact that there was none of his DNA anywhere on that it was so clean except for that one piece, could that be a clue that maybe he was planning to leave it there as a calling card?
I don't think it was all clean. I think that the rest of it was covered in blood. I think it was face down. And so the leather is waterproof and so the blood wouldn't have gotten to that part. And it's also the underside of the button. So it wasn't an area that was protected from against the other DNA. That may have been the only place. I think there was like 2 locations that they tested. It was that place. And then it was also on the other side, but on the other side of the button, they were testing for fingerprints, which would have destroyed any DNA that was left there. So they found DNA in the one spot that they were able to test. So maybe, but for them to have found the spot that was capable of testing and the amount that they tested, it tells me there was probably other DNA, but it just got super contaminated with all the blood and everything else that was around on the bed.
I agree with that. My dog's barking in the back, so I'm trying to put this on silent first.
No, you're fine.
I apologize.
No, it's okay. So I'll go through some of this. It goes on here to say, Gilbertson, the lead investigator, was this is from ABC News, among the authorities who interviewed Kohberger that day. He described Kohberger as expressionless, and said that the former criminology student liked to speak to you and teach and enlighten you. To be described that inside of the interrogation, that tells me he was trying to take control. And I think they were letting him take control because if they're giving him the thought that he's in control so he could slip.
1,000%, because then he would be the smartest one in the room, so to say. So it's like, teach me. Like they were saying, enlighten you. That was like a great way to put it. I was like, that was really good. Because that's exactly what he's trying to do.
His hair looks pretty dark right here. Just saying, his hair looks dark. All right, this goes on to say,
it definitely looks darker.
It does. We started with just very general questions about Pullman, about WSU. We spoke at length about that with us. Gilbertson said Kohberger was asking several times while he was being interviewed. Gilbertson said he eventually told the suspect We're here because of the case in Moscow. So this is the Gilbertson interview. The other one that we just read was Brett Payne's point of view. So it's a little bit different, but mainly the same. As soon as we mentioned that, he stopped and he said that he didn't want to talk anymore. He asked if we were familiar. We asked if he was familiar with it. If he knew anything about Moscow, and he said no. Stopped right then and said he wanted an attorney. He said police left the interview feeling like they had their guy. I think they did.
They did. Yeah.
And then the other thing that's kind of broken out, Kohberger is currently being housed in J Block of the Idaho Maximum Security. That's my block, J Block. Daniel J.
That's funny.
Which is considered long-term restrictive housing, the most restricted area. I think he's by himself too. By himself.
Didn't they say that he has access to like other prisoners, like that Daybell guy, Chad Daybell? Could you imagine, like, what would they talk about? I would love to be a fighter.
But did you know that the Happy Face Killer has reached out to the penitentiary there in Idaho and asked if Bryan Kohberger can be sent over there to Oregon?
That's crazy.
But that guy's like, he sent letters to like Rex Humerman too.
Oh yeah, about the man, and then Rex Humerman wrote him back and said something about the butter or something. That's right. I thought they're not allowed to write each other in between, but I guess Rex Humerman isn't considered guilty yet, so he wouldn't technically be considered.
I don't know about the rules of who you can write to or not write to.
I don't think felons are allowed to contact other felons, but he's not technically a felon yet because he hasn't been tried yet, Rex Humerman.
Yeah.
So that could be why it got through.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, no, he's reaching out to a bunch of people wanting to talk about things, and I guess.
Wouldn't that go to what we always say though, right? So now he's like, it's like him saying, don't forget about me. Like, I feel like that's like a common theme that we see with these guys.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. You're absolutely right. One other thing that I found in here that I hadn't gotten your opinion on, I don't think. I wanted to read this. This is a interview. This is the second interview with KC, and it goes by the name L. I'm assuming based on it's a small name, probably Lee. It's probably his middle name. On Tuesday, October 10th, I met up with WSU student KC. Hereto is referred to as L. It's weird, but L said, "This is a summary of my interview with L, not verbatim. The interview was recorded and attached digitally." It goes on to say that Lee was interviewed once previously by FBI in December of 2022. In December of 2020, Lee was L. I keep calling him Lee. I don't know if that's actually his name. I'm just making that up right now, guys. It's like that whole Pam Kim thing I started a while back. But L was a former teaching assistant with Kohberger and shared an office with him for the fall semester of 2022 at WSU. L stated they were both TAs for the criminology program at WSU and shared an office in, an office in Wilson Short Hall. L considered Kohberger a friend and stated he thought Kohberger was very intelligent, but also selfish. L said Kohberger would often mislead him when it came to their shared work and would have L complete the work meant for Kohberger. L said Kohberger came into his dorm room on one occasion around the time of the homicides. L was unsure of the exact date. After L asked him for a ride to class, L asked Kohberger. L also added Kohberger began to talk much more than usual after the homicides. L characterized Kohberger's conversations as those coming from someone who wanted to vent. Does Kohberger seem like the kind of person that needs to vent?
No, not at all. He's not trying to vent. If anything, it's his way of dangling over someone that I know a little bit more about this than you do, because again, he wants to know more than everybody. He wants to be better than everybody. He thinks he's like the, top of the food chain.
I didn't realize I was just reading that. All right. So this goes on to say, L stated Kohberger attempted to use his authority as a TA inappropriately, interact with female students. L stated that he thought Kohberger wanted a girlfriend and added they talked about Kohberger wanting a girlfriend on many occasions. What do you think about that? That he was talking about wanting a girlfriend. Do you think that's also him just trying to relate to Elle? Maybe Elle is a single person and this is something that they think they can communicate on, or do you think Kohberger was desperate to find female attraction?
I don't know that it was more desperation. I think if anything, it was his way of trying to relate to the other person. So again, like you said, whether it be that he brought up maybe a story about a girl or whatever, that he was like letting it know, like, yeah, I want a girlfriend too. But I'm sure he said it enough that, it creeped out this guy a little bit, or he wouldn't have really reported that. Like if it was normal, it wouldn't have been like something that you would even think to report. So he must have said it enough times that it was a little bit creepy that he even felt the need to say that.
That's true. That's true. Elle said Kohberger told him he might lose his TA position over an issue with Dr. Snyder. Kohberger asked Elle to help fight the allegations, but Elle stated he refused to help Kohberger. Elle characterized Kohberger as a dishonest person. To support this, Elle stated he spoke to Kohberger in late December of 2022, and Kohberger said he was packing his bags to catch a flight back to Pennsylvania. Elle later learned Kohberger had already been back in Pennsylvania for some time and drove back with his father. And so he characterized him as a dishonest person based on some other things, probably, but also that he didn't want to help him. So whatever feelings he had towards him, he knew that he was probably wrong. But what I found interesting was that Kohberger is saying that he was going to catch a flight to Pennsylvania. I think this was the original.
I thought
plan.
that too. Oh.
I think this was his original plan. And I think when the bolo comes out on December 7th, he panics, and out of his paranoia and his frustration, I think he gets into an altercation with his professor. He then uses that altercation to manipulate his father into changing the plans and flying him out there to go take the car out of the area. And this was all part of a manipulation to get the car out of the area because now he knows they're looking for a vehicle that is similar to his. And again, this is also when the searches for the K-bar knife on his Amazon account ceased to exist.
That's such great insight. I think that's totally plausible. And he could have said to his dad, like, they're out to get me. Like, what if they try to pin this on me? We have to get my car. Like, so he could have even went that far if his dad were to say something like, it's a big deal.
I don't think so, because they talk about the interviews with there's been interviews talking about Kohberger's father and his mother and his sister, and the ones that they were going to actually possibly bring. It was going to be his sister Amanda. A lot of people thought it was Melissa. It's actually his sister Amanda who was going to possibly be called to testify against him. And they were going to only bring in one of his parents, which I thought was weird. That it was only going to be one of his parents, either his father or his mother, but not both, that they were going to call to testify for the state. I thought that was real weird and missing an opportunity there.
1,000%.
I wonder if Kohberger, if he knew that, if he would have still taken a plea deal, because it's been speculated one of the reasons he decided to take the plea deal was to protect possibly his parents. That
I don't think he really cares about his parents' feelings. I think it goes back to commissary. Like, in other words, he knows that if he does something and his parents cut him off, then now he apparently spends a lot of time talking to his mom on the phone. So now he loses his one, phone friend and the commissary to pay for the phone friend.
Well, what about this? His mother's the only woman that's probably shown him some sort of affection that he understands, that he accepts. I mean, there may have been other women who have been interested in him, but he just didn't pick up the clues or didn't react or didn't act on it. But this is one person that he could it be possible that he could have some sort of personal relationship or personal feelings to that person? It seems like he got upset when somebody said, "You suck at a player" on the TV. And he's like, "Are you talking about me or my mama?" That seemed to set him off. What do you think about that? Do you think there could be something there with his mom being the only woman that's probably gave him love and affection?
Yeah, but I think at the same time, so for the love and affection that he might have gotten, I also feel like there's a disconnect somewhere too. And I don't know what that is yet because I don't know enough, and I can't wait till I can find out more. But I feel like there has to be a disconnect somewhere, because you would think that he would use that close relationship. Like, my thing is, were they this close before, or did they become close after? Because that would say a lot to me too, because if they didn't talk like this before and it wasn't until after this happened, then that would say something different to me, because then it would say how close were they really.
Well, according to Bill Thompson, he said that the phone calls, because I think they were asked a question about the phone calls, and that wasn't uncommon for Bryan Kohberger to make calls early in the morning with his parents for a long period of time.
So he did talk to his mom a lot on the phone.
Yeah. And
Interesting.
it appeared that his mom had some sort of close relationship with him. She talked about things like can't wait for him. You know, she was heartbroken when he left, and a bunch of other things. And I feel like if there was one person that he probably had some sort of emotion, and it may have been his mom.
I'm gonna have to think about that one. And again, he could have that feeling for his mom, but I wonder how much of it was learned, how much of it is him. I don't know. I have to think about that one. That's a good one. I need to find out more about his mom. I'm dying to know more about her. So if anybody knows, please let us know somehow so that I can look into it.
I mean, let's think about it. He hasn't had very many jobs. He was a school security guard at the high school that he attended, and this was the same high school where he wasn't allowed to finish school, and his mom was a teacher there, or a substitute or something of that nature. His dad was a custodian. I felt like the mom probably got both of them the jobs, and so this is somebody who's probably stood up for him and looked out for him his entire life.
Or
And
did controlled the narrative type thing. Like you just said, she probably got the job for both of them. Like, so how much of this did she have control over? And then it goes back to a control thing again.
yeah, it's possible. I just think that there's something there. I mean, the way he got mad and showed emotion, apparently that's the only time since he's been in prison or in jail. And this goes back to Moscow, that he's had some sort of temper or flare up, and it happened when he thought somebody said his mom sucked.
Well, he just thought somebody said you suck. So he said, are you talking to me or my mom? And that could have also been him thinking that somebody's criticizing him, right? Like, you suck. Like, he doesn't suck. He's better than all of us.
Yeah, but apparently there's been some people that were yelling things at him directly. Like, we're going to hurt you. We're going to do this. We know what you did. Those things have happened, and he didn't respond to those.
That's so interesting, Daniel. If that's like the one thing that made him react was the mom thing, that does say a lot. But that would also make me wonder, like, when he didn't, when he had to finish high school from home, all the things, like, how much of it did she make an excuse for him?
Yeah, I mean, she's probably the one person that went to bat for him at all those things,
Yeah, maybe
believing
she
everything.
coddled him.
Yeah, she probably believed everything he said, and went like, "Oh, you have the wrong kid. This isn't what happened. This, you got it wrong.
Not my baby.
Exactly.
Not my baby, Bryan.
Exactly." And so I think there's a lot there. I think this is the only woman that he's actually been able to accept love from and understand it. I think, like I said, there may
accepts love. I think that might be going too far, but maybe in his head, and this is just my opinion, you guys, and I think it's good that we don't always have the exact same thought process, but I would think if anything, it would be more that it's his idea of what a mom is, because again, it's very mechanical, right? So it's very like 2 + 2 = 4. So it's like your mom should be this person type thing. And then why wouldn't he have that same thing with his dad? So I feel like maybe his mom, like you were saying, accepts him more, picks up for him more. But could that have been to his detriment, to where, he then didn't do it for himself back then, whatever, because of that?
I think it's possible. I mean, his dad's also the one that called the police on him and got him arrested. His
dad's also the one that told the other lady that his son didn't do it and that he's being framed. So,
well, I mean, maybe perhaps he's trying to overcome what he did in the past by calling the police on his son, by defending him now.
Yes, 1,000%. That's what it is, Daniel. 1,000%. You guys, that's exactly what it is. I just had an aha moment. Yes, that's exactly what it is, Daniel. His dad is now doing the most because he feels like he messed up in Bryan's eyes before. And I'm sure Bryan lets him know it at some point over the years. I'm sure he said things like, how could I trust you? You called the cops on me, or for whatever reason. I'm sure that didn't make his dad feel good, even though that was probably the one time that somebody held Bryan accountable and he stops doing drugs. So they got him in rehab because of it, and he stops doing drugs. So the one time he's held accountable, he winds up doing what he's supposed to do. So it's like, how much did his mom coddle him and let him get away with all these things or make excuses for his behaviors?
Oh, geez. Me and you are doing well, but there is some freezing, glitching going on. I see it on my phone. I apologize, guys, that it's happening.
Yeah, I don't see it at all.
I think it's on the YouTube side. It's back now. Now it's working. I saw that. We didn't say anything. We're actually just talking about the freezing while it glitched. We apologize for that. I think there's a YouTube issue going on. It's not freezing on our end, but I'm watching it here. So when it does freeze, I'm not. We're not going too far into anything. You didn't miss anything.
Truth just made a good point. She said the mom probably was the only one that really fed his ego.
That's true. I mean, I think he had problems with the sister, with both of his sisters, at certain points in their lives, and I think they probably thought he was weird, and I think his mom was probably the only person who ever shown him affection that he understood. I think that maybe there could have been other girls that found him attractive. There could have been girls that flirted with him. There could have been girls that gave him his number and he went out on dates and things of that nature. But it always turned out bad. I mean, one girl ended up pretending to throw up in the restroom until he finally left. I mean, how more pathetic do you have to get?
Seriously.
Yeah. So to me, I just think that when all this, with all this stuff here, it's kind of painting a picture.
Stephanie says that mom didn't baby the sister. So I think there is something to that. Like, and someone else said, isn't his mother Catholic? So my mom's a Catholic, you guys. And I don't know if what you're getting there is like Catholic guilt and stuff. There is, and my mom's Italian too. So my mom's Italian Catholic. So I just wonder, I don't know.
That's all right.
Something just fell down the steps and I don't know where it came from.
Is your place haunted?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Haunted houses are my thing too.
It was probably the dog, to be honest. Thor gets into everything.
Nice. That's my nickname, Thor, God of Thunder.
That's right.
Dogs gang. However, he tried to erase the purchase of the search history on his Amazon account, though. Yeah, he did. I mean, those were things that were happening. He was trying to delete certain things. I think he did want to make sure that he wasn't going to get caught. I mean, he did a forensic deletion on his phone and also on his computers at his profession or at his school. So he was definitely doing his due diligence to cover his tracks. But I just feel that he didn't replace that knife. He didn't go out there to a random spot. He could have easily have done that once he got almost pulled over in Kansas, pulled over twice in Indiana. I mean, if I was him, that might be the first thing I do is like, holy smokes, they might be on to me. I don't have this. Maybe if I go and purchase one that's similar and they come and arrest me and they find it, they go and test it and there's no DNA on it or anything like that.
And then he could be like, duh. Yeah, like, duh, there goes my knife. Like, keep moving on. I absolutely think that. I do think that.
Stephanie says he had lied about him being a TA in his work there at WSU because he had already been fired from his teaching assistant job. He didn't mention that he was fired. Doesn't sound.
No, why
like
would he do that? Because that would equal like a failure on his end. So like he would have to admit to like failing again.
I agree.
Daniel, real quick, do you think he had a burner phone? Because I think about it in Stephen Stern's factory reset his phone twice and they were still able to pull everything up. So that leads me to believe that could he have had like burner phones? And if so, wouldn't he have gotten rid of it just in case the cops did come?
So I definitely think that that's a possibility. I think that there's a lot that he is. So I think that there's a lot that he destroyed that we don't know about. And one of the biggest things that's out there that he destroyed or got rid of is his, what was it? His spare tire. So I was going over this last night and let me see if I can pull it up real quick. We were going over this last night. I don't know if you caught it last night. Let me see.
I did. I listened with my one earbud in the hospital.
That's right. I apologize. Let me see if I can.
Oh no, you're good. That was the other night, but I did it again last night.
Let me see. I want to see if I can find it real quick because I'm not sure which one it is. But there was a warrant. I know which one it is. Hold on. It's up here. No, it's not that one. Oh, I know which one it is though. Give me a second. I know where I can find it. It's document 313.
Okay, look at you. Isn't he like inmate 163214? I have like the best memory. When you just said that, that's what I thought of.
No. I think he's like 1/6 something of another. I've seen it. I
It's
haven't looked at it myself.
163214. I guarantee it. I don't know why. I think I've seen it like once. If anybody's out there and you know, is it 163214?
It's quite possible. But look, this was the interesting thing about some of the things that Bryan Kohberger destroyed or got rid of. So on June 26, 2025, this is Danny Fargus, searched through Kohberger's vehicle looking for the following items, which were on his Amazon purchase history, ordered on June 20th, 2022. One of these items was a Dorman 926021 spare tire for the select Hyundai Kia model. And now they found, these are some of the other items. There's a few other items there. When they went to his car, they found some of those items that were purchased alongside with this spare tire. And so that means that he received those items because the other items in the purchase were found. Except, it says right here, I located a spare tire in the trunk which did not have a brand name on it. There was a barcode sticker on the back of the rim with a product number of 926016. And so if we go back up, the product number on what he purchased from Amazon was 926021. So that's a different product number. Goes on to say, I searched the internet for this item number 926016 and was directed to partsgeek.com for a spare tire for 2017 Hyundai Accent. He searched the internet for the Dorman, the one with ending in 021, for the spare tire in the 2011 and 19 Hyundai Elantra, and located a photo of the product in PartsGeek. Both the ones ending in 016 and 021 photos were identical to the spare located in the trunk. So what does this mean? This means that in June, he purchased a spare tire, and by the time he was arrested in December, he had a different spare tire. And it wasn't just the tire that was changed, it was also the wheel, the rim for the spare. Also, that wasn't found was another item that was in his, it says the one item purchased on the item that was not located in Kohberger's vehicle was a work site tire inflator air compressor portable pump, basically. So the two items in his trunk that he had purchased in June were not there, and one of them was replaced. So, this tells me that he put his kill kit in his trunk and he didn't trust these things, but he got rid of some things. I mean, a spare tire, to get rid of a spare tire, where the hell is he getting rid of a spare tire at?
No, I didn't pick up on this. No, that's right. You're right. I don't know. Where do you get rid of? I guess the same place that he got rid of his kill kit and other things.
I mean, that's a big hole you're digging if you're digging that up.
Or yeah, that's true. Could it be like, something where it's not anything nefarious, where he just, like, what are the chances that it could just be that? I guess not, because then he wouldn't be missing the other things as well.
I mean, it'd be a lot less expensive just to buy a tire. Let's just say the tire got damaged. Why are you replacing the rim too? He replaced the entire.
So what do you think? Assembly. What do you think the reason for this could be? You usually.
I think he put his kill kit in his. I think he put his kill kit in his trunk. I think that he. I was wondering. So this is what was making me think. I was like, all right, does this mean he didn't plan his trunk? He didn't line it up, and so he was concerned and wasn't confident that he was going to be able to just, clean away all the blood or whatever that he made evidence that he may have gotten in his trunk. Would that be an indication then that he wasn't planning on killing anybody that night? Maybe he was planning on just abducting somebody. But then I thought, you know what? No, that doesn't make sense. I think what he probably did was like, all right, this took some forethought, but he obviously took a lot of forethought in planning to commit this crime. What I think he did is he probably lined the inside of his trunk, and he left the spare tire and this air pump not covered up because there's a possibility he may need it. I mean, if he's out in these backwoods and he gets a flat tire, he's kind of out of luck there. So he's going to need to get his spare tire out. Or if he's running low on something, he wants to be able to get air in the tire without having to go to a gas station or something like that and be seen on camera. Or having
to call somebody, right? Or having somebody pull over to help him.
Exactly. So I think that he left these two specific parts out of being dextered into his trunk as a possibility of needing it. And I think he ended up probably placing, I wouldn't be surprised if he placed the kill kit, the container or whatever it was that he was carrying out, inside of the hub of the spare tire so it wouldn't bounce around. And then when he got to wherever he got to, he got rid of it all.
That is really like, planning it out beforehand like that. You know what I mean? So like that's absolutely possible. But that just shows how much he premeditated this.
Yeah. And I think he would have. I mean, you don't go into a crime scene the manner that he did, commit the crime that he did, and not leave little DNA behind, not track DNA into your vehicle, into your apartment complex without a lot of planning. That took a lot of planning to do.
And if he did track those things in, he knew how to get rid of the evidence that he tracked it in. So either way, he was, making sure that he was knowledgeable of how to do that so he could get away with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, to me, it's just weird, right? Like you got a whole new spare tire and rim. Like, that's just weird. And I think that there's another piece of items that's missing out of his trunk. Why would that be missing? Why would that be something that you don't have? I mean, you're right. Could he have gotten a flat tire, put the spare, was driving, hit a rock, and bented the rim? That's possible. But why are you missing the air pump too?
That's a good question. But you're right. He could have then used that spot for his kill kit under the rug, right? Was the rug still there?
I would have assumed he would have taken it out. I mean, he was a busy guy that day. Based on the court documents, on these documents here, there was a hit and run right by his house, and they talked to neighbors. And one of the things in the documents that it says is the neighbors said that he would park in the same place. And during that hit and run, they had a police vehicle facing the area where he would have parked, and his vehicle's not there throughout between what they say like 11 and 3:25. And there's a purchase at Walmart at 10:30 on the 12th. And so he was out and about. Now he does go home. I thought at some point I would have thought he went home because he's pinging back at his house at some point at 2:42. But maybe he just kind of drove back, was going to drive back, but saw the police still out there for that hit and run, and then just kind of took off from there. That's a possibility.
That's definitely a possibility.
But yeah, he was out and about that night. And, I think that a big part of that was probably preparing his vehicle. I don't think he would have, I think if he was preparing his vehicle with bags and plastics and things of that nature, and he was doing that in his parking garage or parking lot of his apartment complex, somebody would have noticed him. So he had to have gone somewhere to do that.
1,000%. And then you wouldn't want to come back and get, what if somebody comes up to the car? You would have no excuse for why you had it completely lined.
Yeah, exactly.
Which he probably did.
I think there's a good possibility he did. Let's see. But yeah, there's so much. I don't know if you'd seen did you see the traffic stop?
Yes. When he says yes, but why do you want it? His number.
The one thing that actually stood out to me the most was that his interior lights were off. Like the dash lights were off. Everything was off. Like when they first pull up, I'll bring it up real quick. It'll be the last thing we do before we.
Would the interior light go off though? I mean, come on.
I mean,
he doesn't open his door.
No. But like his speedometer lights are off.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't think I noticed that.
And he was, hold on, there's no sound. Let me remove it real quick and add it with the sound. And this will be the last thing we look at for calling it a show. And so he was, I'm going to actually mute it while he's walking up there. He's actually, so first thing I noticed, all right, you have tail lights are on and you can see the headlights are on. The second time he comes around, the tail lights are, the lights are definitely off. But you can see out there in the distance right here, you can see where it's lit up on the street. Lights are on. You can see on the sidewalk right here, all of this is lit up. So his headlights are on. car is on.
Oh, well.
Look at how dark that is.
Oh, well, I didn't notice that at first. Not at all.
None of his interior lights are on. Now, he was just parked outside or within 100 meters of the victim's residence for about 61 minutes just before this stop. This is August, so this is summer. My thoughts are he's parked back there. He's watching. He has the car on, but he doesn't want the glow of the lights and everything shining on him, so he has all that off so he can watch.
Or do whatever he's doing in there.
Yeah. Yeah. He could have been doing some weird stuff to himself too. You know?
Wow.
But yeah, all the lights are off in his vehicle. And there's one other thing that I had noticed. And so he does this weird look up and down thing when he says, "I caught you doing 43," and he goes, "Sure." And he looks him up and down.
Yeah, 43 is what the radar said. Sure. Oh, yeah.
He stares down at his gun belt or his belt line. You see that?
Could he have been looking to see if he had a body cam?
And he's staring a little bit lower from where a body cam.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Yeah, 43.
Oh my gosh, look at that. That was like perfect.
Yeah. Do you have your license, the registration?
See now how light up. I mean, we would have seen his gauges, all these things light up, and they're not lit up. It's dark. It's dark as heck in there. Sure. And then let me pause. There's one other thing
it's
that
clean in there too.
Is it though? Watch this.
No, it's not. Let me see. I guess compared to my car, it is.
Right here, and I know this is kind of hard to see, but there's dust. Oops. There's dust all up in this right here where the door panel connects to the window pillar. There's like dust, dirt all the way up in here. I wish I could zoom in on this. You know what? I think I am. Got an idea. Man, this is why I think I'm a genius sometimes. I know how to problem solve.
That's a good quality to have.
Yeah. There we go. Save and let's bring it up now. All right. You see that right there?
Yeah, what do you think it is?
That's just dust. That's just normal. I mean, I would expect that in most cars. But the way they described this car after the murder was they took things apart and they couldn't find dust inside of compartments, inside of the AC system, that it was spotless. It wasn't spotless before the murders.
No, you're right. You're right. Is that a dime in there? What the hell is in that?
Oh, that's an air freshener.
Oh.
This thing right here. Yeah, it's one of those air fresheners you pull in.
Gotcha. I was like, what the hell is he got change in there for?
Yeah.
But no, you're right, because they said that even like everybody always has like crumbs or something on the side panels, and that his like were spotless.
Yeah, exactly. And so I noticed those things. Those were the few things that I picked up right away when I was watching this. It's like the interior lights are off. There's dust here. You know, it's not as super clean as you would think. And I'm assuming if there's dust here, there's probably dust in the common areas you would have found dust. The thing is, there was none when after the murders. It was completely spotless in places
you had
to take things out of. So interesting stuff. Interesting stuff.
It is very interesting.
Guys, make sure you go and follow Dr. Vona on the Minds Behind True Crime with Dr. Vona.
I appreciate that.
Let's get her subscribed up. She's at 2.1. Let's get her to 2.5, guys. 2.5 subscribers. We can do that if, less than half of you go out there right now and subscribe. She will get her there. If all of you go out there and subscribe, she'll be over $3,000. Let's do it.
Wouldn't that be amazing? And you guys check out my videos, because I started putting some up about like Xana and Ethan and stuff, instead of just always talking about BK or prisoner 163214. I'm like positive that's it.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Vona. Are you going to be doing any lives that you want to promote or put out there for me in the next couple of days?
That's funny, Daniel. You always ask me that and I never know. So I have somebody sick in the family, and my daughter has her party tomorrow. So maybe Sunday, maybe I'll see you guys on Sunday. Maybe I'll do a live some point Sunday. So you guys look out for that. I'll make sure that I put up a thumbnail first.
All righty.
I'm gonna have to
And
get you to come on my channel soon too again.
I'm down. I'm down to go. I know we're frozen on the YouTube side. For those that are watching this on the replay side, it's going to go through. It's not going to be frozen. For those
That's
listening
crazy.
to on the Spotify and podcast area, you probably aren't dealing with this because it's downloaded. Apologize for those out there in the YouTube world because it's just freezing over and over again. I see it right now.
That's so weird. It has to be YouTube. It's not us for once, or it's not me for once.
No, yeah, exactly. It's not us. All righty, guys. Until next time, they have you frozen in a weird face picture. You should see it.
Oh, great.
I'm going to screenshot it.
You have to and send it to me. That's funny. Of course.
I will. All righty, guys.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you,
That's it.
everyone.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.